Hi everybody, today's recipe is going to be our German Schnitzel fest. So we've got three amazing recipes. We've got our chicken schnitzel. Oh, it's so delicious. Crispy on the outside, beautiful thin chicken on the inside. Amazing, you're gonna love it. We're making a apple Waldorf salad. So you might not have heard of that before. You can make it a creamy salad or you can make it lovely with some lemon and olive oil. And to top it off, of course, we've got the fabulous apple crumble. So let's get into it.
Fantastic. All right then. So let's read over our recipe. So we're going to start with our apple crumble. Then we'll make our chicken schnitzel and we'll finish with the Waldorf salad. So if at any point you want to leave because you're not going to do the Waldorf salad, you're welcome to do that. So, excuse me, I'm going to cough. Fantastic. All right then, so we'll read over our apple crumble ingredients first. Excellent. So the recipe says it's approximately 25 minutes. I reckon for you guys it'll be a lot less than that. All right, so you're going to need about 4 to 5 apples. You'll need some sugar, a little bit of extra sugar, some cinnamon, lemon, some unsalted butter, some plain flour, and some rolled oats. You'll need a chopping board and a knife, a couple of mixing bowls, measuring cups, measuring spoons, a wooden spoon or a spatula or a big sort of mixing spoon. You need a baking dish and oven mitts. Fantastic. All right, and then we'll just read over our chicken schnitzel ingredients as well. So you'll need some breadcrumbs, some Parmesan cheese, some lemon rind, some flat leaf parsley. You don't have to have that, but that is an option. Some garlic powder, plain flour, egg, milk, chicken breast, and some vegetable oil. Again, you'll need measuring cups and measuring spoons, some baking paper, a mallet or a rolling pin, chopping board and a knife, and you'll actually need, I don't know why that's not on there, you'll need a fry pan. Oops, Daisy, get a pen that works. You'll need a fry pan, some tongs, and you'll need a board for serving, not for serving, but for prepping. You can use a baking tray, board for prepping. Great. All right, we won't worry about the Waldorf salad yet. All right, so we're going to start with our apple crumble. All right, so let me take my beautiful face away. Let's remove that. And then we've got the overhead camera. All right, fantastic. Excellent. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is preheat the oven to 200 degrees. 200 degrees. Now, if you're not going to cook it for a little bit later and you're going to have and you want to serve it hot, how long does it take? Cook time is 30 minutes, so you don't have to put it into the oven. If it's going to cook for 30 minutes, then you don't need to put it into the oven for 30 minutes before you're planning to eat. So preheat the oven to 200 degrees. All right, grab yourself a bowl. You'll need a bowl, you'll need a knife, and we're going to prep our apples. Now, I've had some apples in my fruit bowl that are really, no one wants to eat them, no one wants to throw them out, so they're perfect. Some of these are okay, but there's a couple in there that, yeah, best days have definitely finished. So what we're going to do, if you want to peel, you are welcome to peel, completely up to you. So peel and core the apples. So I keep skin on, but that's completely up to you. Right, I'm just putting that rubbish in the bin. So I cut around the core. And then we're going to put our apples into nice big chunks. When we cook them, they're going to cook down beautifully. So let's start prepping our apples, and give me a thumbs up in the chat when you have done that, so I'll know how to judge the time. I'm just rolling my lemon to break the membranes. So when we break the membranes on a lemon, it makes the juice a lot easier to come out. So we're sort of releasing it already. And I'm going to pop the lemon juice from half of the lemon on top of my apples, because I don't want those apples to go brown while we make the crumble. So I'm really giving that a really good squeeze. And once you've added your lemon, then we're going to add half a cup of sugar to our apples as well. And give it a really good stir around. So that the sugar and the apples are going to coat, the sugar and the lemon is going to coat the apples. Now I've got my baking tray here, and I'm going to transfer the apples straight into that bowl. I'm using the edge of my spatula to scrape out as much of that syrup that's already accumulated. That is all about flavour. Great. And then I'm going to pop that just to the side. Beautiful. And then we're going to cube 120 grams of butter. So I'm going to just double check how much I've got, and I've got way more than I need. If you've got a little set of scales at home, they are, which you can pick up from Woolies. 120 grams of butter. That will do me. And we want to cube them. So the reason we're cubing them is simply because it's going to be quicker to break apart the butter when we start to rub it into the oats and the flour. So we're really doing ourselves a favour. And then we're going to add 100 grams of plain flour. So 100 grams of plain flour, which is roughly, hang on, let's see how much it is roughly. So flour obviously is lighter than, flour is lighter than sugar. That's a little bit more than I need. So it's probably just under a cup. Probably 3/4 of a cup. So if you're measuring it according to cups, it's probably about 3/4 of a cup. So 100 grams of plain flour, which is roughly 3/4 of a cup, and half a cup of rolled oats. Half a cup of rolled oats. There's everything over here. And remember to be sealing things up, folding things down, putting lids back on as you go, because that just makes your whole cleanup process a whole lot easier. So we've got 120 grams of unsalted butter, 100 grams of plain flour, half a cup of rolled oats, and half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Right. And then once you've done that, what we're going to do is we're going to start rubbing in rubbing the butter into the flour. So it's called rubbing in. And what we want to do is, so if you look at your hand, that part of your hand, the palm of your hand, has got lots of blood and muscle and all the rest of it. So it's going to be a lot warmer than your fingers. So ideally what we want to do is just use your fingertips to start rubbing in. The more that you melt the butter, what will happen is it will change the texture of the crumble. So we want nice cold fingers, cold butter, cold fingers. So I'm just sort of squashing that each cube up. I'll actually do two hands. I usually don't do two hands, but the rubbing in, that's definite. And then once I've done that, then I'm going to start, I'm putting the crumble on top so you can see that it really is crumbly. And that's the beautiful thing about it. But I'm going to spread it around so that I'm just using the wooden, I'm using the cup, measuring cup, but really, all right, fantastic. Great. You'd probably be able to smell that beautiful cinnamon now. All right, I'm overdoing it. I'm overthinking it. That's my trick. Fantastic. Now, of course, there's no eggs in it. There's no cream or milk in it. So you can leave it out on the bench if you want, or if you would like to put it into the fridge, pop it into the fridge, you can cover it with you can cover it with some cling wrap before you put it into your fridge so that it doesn't take on the smell of your fridge. Not saying that your fridge has got a smell, but often fridges have a smell. What you will need is 3 sort of bowls, or pasta bowls are ideal. So you will need 3 pasta bowls as well. For some reason that's not on the recipe. So, well done, Hayley. Fantastic. Great. Excellent. Okay, so what we are going to do first is get our chicken ready and start schnitzeling it. So what I'm going to do is grab some baking paper. I'm going to tear off 2 sheets. Now I put my I did a silly thing and cut my finger. So I'm going to use some gloves with the chicken. And I've got my rolling pin here. So the first thing that we're going to do is get our chicken. I've just got 2 slices here. And we want to trim it of anything, any little fat bits or sinewy bits that we don't want on there. Because what we're going to do with the schnitzels, as you know, is we're going to make really thin slices. I would assume that the way this recipe has been developed is to make a small amount of meat go a really long way. So I've just got 2 breast fillets here. And what I want to do to begin with, and I have actually got the wrong knife, but I'll have to work with that for the moment, is I want to start by slicing my chicken down lengthwise. So you can sort of see that I've got one hand on top, and if you want to, you can hold a piece of baking paper to make it a little bit more secure if you want to do that. And we want to make that nice and thin. Takes a little bit of practice, but move the chicken as you cut it. So like I'm putting a slice and then I'm turning it. I'm making the chicken work for me, not me work for the chicken. So slicing that around. So it doesn't have to look amazing. That's the beautiful thing about schnitzel, is that it can really be any sort of shape. I'm sure you've had schnitzels where they're like a crazy size. So I'm going to do that to both breast fillets. And you can do it like if you're doing 5 or 6, well, do the same thing. So trimming your meat of any sinewy bits. Right. That one's okay. And then we're going to slice that down the middle. So we're not slicing it this way, we're slicing it across. If you're not sure, ask somebody at home for help. The next step that I'm going to do is I've got a piece of chicken breast between 2 pieces of baking paper, and then all I'm going to do is flatten it. So the idea is that it's going to be even all the way along. So we're kind of, in the nicest possible way, we're actually breaking up some of the muscles in the meat. Excuse my noise. You can see that that's great. That's a great little schnitzel. So I'm going to pop that back into my container and move on to the next one. Oh, right. Okay. I think mine are out of shape. And once I've done that, I'm going to start prepping for the coating on the schnitzel. So the first thing we're going to do is build the breadcrumb level. So we're going to add 2 cups of fresh breadcrumbs. You can do fresh. I'm just using the Woolworths, cheapo brand. That's absolutely fine. If you've got someone who's gluten-free in your family, you could use some almond meal. There's also, you could use Rice Krispies as well. You can use cornflakes if you've got a gluten-free cornflakes. There's lots of options. So 2 cups of breadcrumbs. Two cups of breadcrumbs, and then 1/3 of a cup of Parmesan cheese. Again, I'm just using one out of a packet, but if you wanted to have fresh Parmesan cheese, the flavour would be like amazing. So 2 cups of breadcrumbs, 1/3 of a cup of Parmesan cheese. And the next 2 items are optional. So the rest of the ingredients says 1 tablespoon of freshly ground lemon rind or freshly grated. So you don't have to add these. This is not essential, but it certainly will give a different, more fresher, vibrant flavour if you do grate. I'm using the biggest grate, like you can see the box grater, and I'm not using the tiny one. That would be more for cheese. This one here, I'm using the big grater. Be careful not to go down to the white part on your lemon. I just keep moving my lemon around. Great, that smells incredible already. So we're looking for like about a tablespoon. I just grate 1 lemon, and that will be enough. So 1 tablespoon of grated lemon rind and about 2 tablespoons of finely chopped flat leaf parsley. I have got it, but I didn't bring it in. So 2 tablespoons of flat leaf parsley. And then 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And the reason we use garlic powder and not fresh garlic is because it's going to be a crumb on the outside. We just want it to be granulated, just like it. So we've got the flavour without it being sort of chunky and wet. That's dehydrated garlic. It doesn't matter if you don't have it, but it is an option. It's all about the flavour. So tablespoon of grated lemon rind, 2 tablespoons of finely chopped, get it out, fresh flat leaf parsley. And again, you could use different, you could put finely chopped basil if you wanted to, or even some oregano or chives would be nice as well. And 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. And then what we're going to do is I'm just using my fork to get that all tossed through so that the flavours incorporate all through the beautiful breadcrumbs. Don't take too long. 30 seconds is probably enough. Don't overthink it. Great. Then we're going to grab 1/2 cup of plain flour, pop it in a separate bowl. Doesn't have to be exact. Half a cup. And then in the last bowl, just want to crack an egg into it. And I always add just, it says a tablespoon of milk. All right, let's add milk. Sometimes I'll add water, literally just to just thin out the egg a little bit. If you want to measure it, great. You can judge it as well. And we're going to whisk our egg and our milk together. Right. Perfect. All right, so we've got our flour, we've got our egg, we've got our breadcrumb mixture, and we've got a plate that we're going to put everything onto. Someone's clutter out of the way. And I'm going to need a set of tongs. All right, so let me break this up a bit so it's nice and even. And I want everything right next to each other. See how it's sort of, I don't have a lot of space between them? That's exactly what I'm after. So some people put salt and pepper into their flour. If you want to do that, you are welcome to do that. I feel like we've got lots of flavour in the breadcrumb mixture. Okay, so we toss the outside of the chicken fillet in the flour, put it straight into the egg mixture or the egg wash, and then I'm really lifting it up to, I'm double checking that it's all covered, oops daisy, because that's going to create, oops, it's got a little tricky on me. I'm letting it run off and then I'm putting it straight into the breadcrumb mixture. And I'm double tossing it to make sure that it's all coated. Nobody wants a half-coated piece of schnitzel. And then you repeat the process until you've finished. So what we're looking for is any, I call them naked bits, parts of the chicken that haven't got flour on them. So you might need to play around until you've got that happening. You can use your fingers, but I always end up just, to me, that's too messy. So I use a set of tongs. Sometimes I've used metal forks to do that as well. Letting the egg wash drip off and putting it straight into the breadcrumb mixture. Perfect. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to show you, what time is it? It's 5:30. So if, depending on what time that you eat, you can cook them now and then keep them in the oven at about 50 degrees if you want to do that. But if you want to serve them nice and close to dinner, I suggest that you wait. You can, I'll make two and then show you what to do so that you've got that. Right, I'm going to put my oil over a medium-high heat. So depending on what that is for you. I've got my oil. You can use whatever kind of oil that you want. I've got some canola oil here. And we're using, all right, so again, it's going to be a bit interesting because the breadcrumbs that we've used on the outside of the chicken, they're very thirsty, which means that they will suck up the oil. We're not deep frying them. You can deep fry them, I'm sure that if you went to the club somewhere, they would deep fry theirs, but in this recipe, we're going to shallow fry them. I think I've used about 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. Let me grab my tongs. Oh, it smells amazing. So I'll just do 2. I am going to wait a little bit longer. And of course, the longer that your oil is on the stove, the higher that the higher that the temperature goes. So just be aware of the temperature, because you don't want to burn your schnitzel. You just want a lovely golden crust on them. I've got mine 140 degrees. And you will need some paper towel. I'm just going to grab some. No, I'm not. I don't walk away from my saucepan with oil in it, do we? We don't. What I'm going to do is do a little peek. Oh, gosh, it looks amazing. All right, fantastic. I've got a nice little golden crumb there. I'm going to turn him around because the middle of my pan, for some reason, is a lot hotter than the edges. Girls, let me know if you've got any questions at all. That last little bit, and do a double check. So get a nice clean knife and double check that your chicken is cooked all the way through. You'll only need to do it on one. Perfect. Keep your eye on the time in terms of when you're going to eat. So remember, we've got our apple crumble that you want to pop into the oven for 30 minutes. So keep in mind that you'll need to preheat your oven as well as cook it. And you want to time that about 5 minutes before you want to eat it. So if you're going to eat at 7:30, you won't really need to turn your oven on until about 6:45, depending on what you're going to do. So recipe says halve and core your apples and thinly slice. So you don't have to peel for this recipe. It's all about the apples today, isn't it? So you can see that I've chopped around the core. My apple is very disgusting. I'm not sure that I'm going to use that. So, yep, I'm going to chop around it. No, I think that's dead. I don't think that's rescuable. All right, so I'm going to thinly slice my apples. I'm holding it using the bridge method and just running my knife very slowly through to make some nice slices. And then we've still got half a lemon from before. So once you've sliced up your apples, you can make them really small if you want. I'm going to do big slices like this. So it's 2 apples, and you can do any kind of apple. The recipe says red delicious. My favourite apple is the pink lady. So the beauty about this salad is that it's crunchy and it's got my lemon. Go to the lemon. It's crunchy and it's sweet and it's a perfect balance to the schnitzel. So sometimes we use slaw, like coleslaw. So now some people love celery, some people cannot stand it. When I was growing up, we used to have, like, it had really thick those strings, whereas I think they must have sort of genetically modified it or whatever. That's a bit conspiracy theorist of me, isn't it? But they've changed it in such a way that they don't have the horrible thick strings anymore. Walnuts. I'm today going to use just some pepitas because that's what I've got at home. You could use cashews as well. Let me go grab them, depending on what you really like. Again, it's a salad, so you can do whatever vegetables that you like in it. The recipe says 1/4 of a small red onion. You could use shallots as well. I'm going to get a white onion. A red onion would be a lot more milder. Flipping off the edges, and I'm going to use 1/2 quarter. And really, really thin slices. So always take your time to do that. You can use a mandolin if you know how to use a mandolin. Mandolin is a thinly sliced, like it helps you slice vegetables really thinly, but it's invariably that you can slice your finger as well if you're not careful. So, all right, now I'm going to give this a nice little toss. Break out my apples. Now you can use mayonnaise. I've got some mayonnaise there, or you can just use some more olive oil and lemon juice. So for me, I will definitely use olive oil. I won't use mayonnaise, but it is traditionally it is a creamy salad. So beautiful, and it will go beautifully with the schnitzel. You can also add, just as a variation, you can add some thinly sliced cabbage. So that will give it a little bit more bulk and a bit more crunchiness as well. So I know that we've got some purple cabbage in my fridge, so I'm going to add a little bit of that. But really, it's just taste it and see. If you want to add some salt to it, you could add a little bit of salt to it. I'm going to add a little bit more. I've got some more of that lemon. And that's it. You can add mayonnaise if you want to add mayonnaise to it. The recipe says 2 tablespoons of whole egg mayonnaise. So if you want to go down that route, we're not a big mayonnaise fan in our family. So we'll just go with the olive oil and the lemon juice. But you can, oh gee, I just got a whiff of that. Oh, it smells fantastic. So it's a swappable recipe. So lots of ingredients there that you can swap out for something else to make it workable in your family. Fantastic. All right, so we've made our beautiful schnitzel. Oh, so good. We've made our Waldorf salad. And we've got our fantastic apple crumble ready to pop into the oven, ready to go. I'm a ice cream fan with apple crumble, but you can have cream and you can have custard depending on what you like. Excellent. All right, girls, enjoy your dinner. If you've got any last minute questions, I'm here.